Apes! Together! Strong! We don't mean any harm!
How awesome is it to see your film early, Ben?
Well, there's nothing better than getting an advanced preview. A really, really far in advanced preview.
Yeah, a promised well in advance preview from Cineworld would have been amazing. Fortunately, we didn't get that.
Oh, we didn't, Jesus Christ. Our guesses were well off the fucking mark.
If they'd said, if they hadn't mentioned like having the preview well in advance, I probably would have used the clues they gave us to work out it was Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. So what happened was Cineworld sent an email out to all of the Unlimited card holders and said, hey, there's a secret screening on at this time. We're going to show you a film well in advance of its national release, and we're going to give you clues as to what it is before you arrive, but book your tickets now.
Yeah, and what like our minds just start racing like, oh, well, Planet of the Apes is out 2 days after the date, so it can't be that because it said well in advance. Oh, shit, Guardians of the Galaxy's out in like 3 weeks. Maybe it's that. Oh, if it's well in advance, fuck, it could be, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle or something. Holy shit, it could be something like a bit different that I wouldn't necessarily watch otherwise. It could be something completely fucking left field. But no.
No, it was the most obvious choice. They just lied to us. Like, granted, though, it was bloody good.
It was really good.
So early.
Yeah, it was a class film.
We're just messing Cineworld. Thank you very much. But don't do it again.
Yeah, give us something advanced next time. God damn it. I mean, the thing is, like, the reason I was a bit pissed off is because I would have gone to see this the weekend anyway.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. There was people in the cinema with me who had already booked tickets for Thursday night to go with their other friends.
Oh, God.
And I was just like, they turned back and was like, yeah, we've already seen it.
I was like, I've got my friend at work, he's a huge Guardians of the Galaxy fan. He like loves the comic books and all that. And I kept teasing him, like saying, oh, I'm going to get to see it before you, mate, like 3 weeks in advance, so you're not a bit jealous, you know? And he's like, oh, shut up, man, you're not going to see it. I don't believe you. And I texted him the next day, like saying, oh, guess what I watched last night? He said, you didn't, did you? I was like, well, I got to see a movie with Rocket in it, but it was Rocket the Ape. So he was happy. He was happy I wasn't.
Just to, people are maybe aren't familiar with the secret screening type situation, because I wasn't, so I thought we'd talk about that for like a minute. We turned up and they gave us all free Coke. Did you get yours?
Oh my God, the free Coke just caused absolute chaos.
It did, didn't it?
It's like everybody was like, oh God, I fucked up, right? I was halfway to the cinema before I realised, fuck, it's a 3D screening. I haven't brought 3D glasses. Shit, I've got no cash on me. I'm going to have to go and buy some glasses. Got there, absolutely rammed. It's on a Tuesday. It's cheap Tuesdays and fucking Cineworld Unlimited screen thing. God, I've got to stop plugging Cineworld.
Yeah, we were doing too well.
And it was absolutely fucking rammed. So I thought, screw you guys. I've got my ticket already, wandered in. And I was like to the guy at the door, I was like, is this a 3D one? Because I wasn't sure if they just put that on the ticket just in case. And he's like, yeah, unfortunately it is. I was like, fuck. So I had to then stand in the queue for like 20 minutes. And I got to the front and I was like, oh shit, I just need 3D glasses, but I've got no cash. I need to pay on card. So I suppose I'll have to buy something else as well. I'll have a Coke. And she was like, oh, you get a free Coke for the unlimited one. I was like, all right then. But I still need my glasses. And I've got no cash. And to be fair, the girl, I'll probably get her fired. I don't know her name, but she works at the Bolton Cineworld.
She's called Catherine. No, she's not. That was just a joke.
I don't know. I can't remember what her name was, but she basically gave me 3D glasses free because not only was there a huge queue because of these free Cokes, and I opted for a free Coke anyway, but the credit card machines were going slow because of being overloaded. And I was there like, I need to buy £1 worth of glasses, please.
She was just rather face the consequences than actually deal with you.
She was like, she'd rather fucking just deal with, like, get the money docked from a check than have to deal with me.
That's amazing.
So I got free glasses, and the irony is I've got like 10 pairs at home.
Yeah, I know. I always remember trying to take them with me, and I either forget and buy a new pair, or I get there and I'm like, well, these are a bit scratched, I'll get a new pair. So there was massive queues at ours. I thought they were going to give us free Coke like in bottles at the door, but no, it was queue up and get like a draft one. But I got in, and then where were you when I texted you what the film was?
I was sitting in my seat. They actually postponed our start time by about 20 minutes because the queues were that bad. Half the people were still trying to get free Coke.
So had the trailers started by the time I texted you?
I think what happened is I actually missed the trailers because I was still in the queue. I think they basically ran the trailer reel, realised the cinema was half full. I was like, shit, we'll have to pause this for a little bit. Because I texted you, I think it's going to be a Sony movie because on our screen there was just a big Sony logo, and now I realise that's actually just the make of the projector.
Well, I was wondering, I was like, what the fuck? What Sony films this?
I know.
Coming out, but the last trailer, whatever they showed, I can't remember which one it was a Sony trailer. I was like, well, they're not going to be showing us that, are they? And you just threw me down the wrong track completely. But then Andy Serkis popped up on my screen. He's like, if you hadn't guessed, everyone, you're coming to see my film tonight, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. And it was his film.
It was. He did. We got that as well. He was like, you're one of the first audiences. I said, well, probably not now. We're fucking half an hour late.
But yeah, we saw Dawn of the Planet of the Apes 2 days early, and now we're getting the results out 4 days after release.
Yeah, I really, I was like, oh shit, we're early for a change. You know what, I'm going to write something, and then I just played Destiny instead.
Well, yeah, much. I think it's a better use of your time.
I only get 10 days on it, or 8 days, because it's offline now. Let's face it, it's pretty much the only reason we're recording now.
That is literally
because the beta's offline. But that's beside the point. Right. So yeah, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is a sequel to the 2011 movie Rise of the Planet of the Apes, which in itself is a reboot of the classic sci-fi franchise, which is kind of the second reboot after the failed Tim Burton effort of 2001. I'm going to say Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
I just watched the original one, and if you have a flexible grasp of the timeline, this film could work as as a prequel rather than the reboot.
Really?
Just it could work. Some of the dates don't perfectly line up, but it's all right.
Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah. So I mean, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Rise of the Planet of the Apes, the original. I thought it was a solid movie. I enjoyed it. I thought it was okay, and then towards the back end, like the third act, I thought it really, really escalated it, and it started to get really interesting, which is unfortunately when it came to a close. Now, it's been a long time as far as franchises knocking sequels out. This has been a long time coming. It's like I think
production started pretty much as soon as the first one finished as well, so it's not like they waited a while to do it. Yeah,
you're right. It's been something that's kind of been in the works for a long time, and you know what? That kind of taking their time and doing it justice, it seems to have really, really paid off.
Oh yeah, this was really impressive. It improved on everything from the original, which was solid and entertaining in itself.
Yeah, I'd completely agree. I really like this movie. I thought, as I say, the original Dawn, Rise of the Planet. God, see, to me, Dawn, I don't know, it's Dawn and Rise, it is, isn't it?
What they're going to call the next one, I think it's going to be Birth.
Oh, is it?
Well, no, that's just what,
I think it should be called Planet of the Apes. Because, I don't know. Anyway, right, getting off track. But, yeah, you're right, I enjoyed this one so much more than the original, and I like the original, but it didn't start getting particularly interesting until things started kicking off towards the end. Now, this one is set kind of after the world of man has passed. At the end of the original, after Rise, you saw this virus get unleashed and then travel across the world, ravaging the human population. And those who did survive basically died out in war between the survivors. And now humanity survives in scattered pockets, so much so that the apes, led by the intelligent Caesar, played by Andy Serkis, have basically set up and started building a civilization, and they haven't actually seen humans for what is it, 11 winters?
I think so it's the film sort of must be set maybe 15 years or something after the original one at the very least, but they haven't seen a human for 10 years.
Yeah, they've built up their own society, and I think one thing that straight off the bat that this film establishes, this is a movie about the apes. This isn't fucking Transformers, which has humans and then a few robots in the background. The apes are the main focus of this movie.
Caesar's the main character. This is very much Andy Serkis's film, and I mean, he stole the show in the first one, but it was almost more about James Franco.
Yeah, you're right. James Franco took centre stage. That's probably because large of it, like Caesar hadn't become like super intelligent at that. He wasn't. Now all the apes are advanced in intelligence, and I thought it was fucking amazing how they did the apes. Quite frankly, I was amazed by how good these apes were. Each one of them, I mean, like. Each one of them is a motion captured performance. So every ape is its own character. They all look slightly different. They all act slightly different. Their facial expressions are all slightly different because they're actually a real person sitting behind this, what is essentially digital makeup.
Yeah. And it's just really cool that you can, even though they all look so distinct, which I think's good, that they didn't just like go out and, they're all chimpanzees. I mean, if you watch the original like I did, I have to say original twice, just so we go back far enough in time.
What, the old Charlton Heston?
Yeah. Like, I think there's only like 4 apes that look different, and then the rest of them, they're all wearing the same mask, effectively.
Yeah.
It's so good that every ape in this is, like, unique, and you can tell who each of them is. But even if they look the same, you could tell that who they all are from the way that they're acting as well.
Yeah, and I thought they did a lot of really good things to make them look unique, like... I mean, it's not really much of a spoiler, this, but early on in the film, you know, it's established that Caesar's the leader, and he's got a son who's grown now called Blue Eyes. He's got sparkling blue eyes, his son. He's a young ape. But I thought it was clever because obviously Caesar, it looks very distinct because he's the main ape. He's the chieftain. You know, he's easily identifiable. You've got Koba, who actually, another thing I liked about this film is it actually brings a lot of the ape characters from the original movie.
Most of them are, yeah. It's brilliant.
But Koba is the ape who's like, he was a lab rat, basically. He was kind of experimented on by humans, and he's got loads of scars on his face. He looks very distinct. Blue Eyes has got a sparkling blue eyes, but early on he gets attacked by a bear, and he's got huge like bear claw marks across his chest and arm, and that's almost, that makes him instantly recognizable at a glance. I thought it was clever how they give them all slight differences to make them more visually like stand out between each other, because let's face it, to most people, one ape looks as much like another.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think they did a really good job of that.
Yeah,
and then of course you've got my favourite fucking character, Maurice Yo-Yo.
Maurice, he's such a boy, isn't he? And you know what, another thing, Maurice is he's in the original. And he's a huge orangutan. And one thing I really liked about this, orangutans are kind of generally well known as being the most intelligent of like the ape family.
Yeah.
And all the orangutans were like the teachers in the village. They were the educators.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. And it's like they all sort of look up to the orangutan. They all look up to Maurice. And it's... Even Caesar uses Maurice as his, like, trusted advisor.
He's like his counselor.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like these level-headed, placid, you know, let's think about this first kind of guy, whereas Koba is his war chief.
Yeah.
And then you've got the gorillas don't come into it as much, but they're like the fucking heavies they like to bring out. They were like the doorkeepers to the village.
And they well, when the fight scene happens in like the second half, for the most part, the gorillas are like they're just dragging like wounded chimps away and stuff.
Yeah, picking 3 up in one arm and just dragging them away. Yeah, they're like the heavy hitters and like the kind of the muscle, like, you know, they're the muscle of the tribe. I did like how all the different races and species did have like a slightly different role, and they used them really effectively. And again, it kind of helped create an identity for this kind of tribal culture that they'd forged.
And when you're talking about the way that the apes look as well, I feel that I need to mention, in case people didn't realise, but there's actually quite a lot of costumes still used. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, Maurice isn't CG. He's a man in a suit.
Yeah, you kind of see it for him because you could probably get away with it.
And when there's like real close-ups on Koba's face, you know, when he'd just been beaten up.
Oh yeah,
that was definitely like a model, like a mask.
Yeah, there was some really fucking detailed close-ups of the apes.
Yeah, close-ups. Sometimes they went more traditional, which I liked. So sometimes, like, there was a moment when Koba asks for Caesar's forgiveness, and it's like zooms right in on the hands to do the sort of handshake. And that was just like 2 gloves. It was. I loved how they didn't do CG for everything.
Yeah, it's better for it. You know, it's a tool, not a crutch. And the special effects in this film are fucking amazing. Quite frankly, never once did I look at any of the apes, even when there are thousands of them on screen, and think he's big. They all look fucking spot on. It's absolutely ridiculous how good they are. And not only the quality of the CGI, but the quality of the performance they've managed to capture.
Yeah,
Holy
it's phenomenal.
Shit. The human characters in this movie are the wooden ones.
Yeah, it's amazing, really. This film is about the apes, and the performances that we get are just unbelievable. I watched the original with my girlfriend over the weekend. It was on Channel 4. And, like, she'll kill me for saying this, but she was in tears at times. And I was just like, it's a CG ape. And it was just like, Andy Serkis's performance made it so real.
Yeah,
it's true.
And if she was in tears at the first one, goddamn, she'd be positively, like, devastated at this other one, because this one's so much more emotional. So much more... It's just got that slight edge on the technology.
It's quite edgy as well in terms of what the film's about.
It's good, it handles it well. I mean, we've kind of gone into this, but the kind of story was saying that apes haven't seen humans for 10 years, but at the same time, Gary Oldman playing a character called Dreyfus and Jason Clarke playing a character called Malcolm have established a human settlement in the ruins of San Francisco, and they're trying to get power re-established. They're running out of fuel to burn, so they're hoping to use a hydroelectric dam to power their settlement. But unfortunately, that's the location of the apes' village. So they've got to kind of form a tentative alliance or a tentative friendship to basically allow them to build the power station they need and get themselves back up and running. But obviously, some of the apes remember what humans were like and don't want to do this. And there's a lot of... It's very... In a silly or a strange kind of way, it's quite political in terms of like the politics of the tribe.
Yeah, it really is. And I think it puts almost the stuff from the first film on the head, because for the most part, the humans act really level-headed, and they're always trying diplomacy, and they only ever use, they never actually use violence other than defending themselves.
Yeah, the humans aren't typically the bad guys, the big bad anti-nature fuckers.
Which for the most part they were in the first one.
Yeah, there's a lot more subtlety in the storyline here. There's bad guys and good guys on both sides.
Yeah, and I think that is what makes this film special, because we're human, and but the main characters are the apes, but it's still, there's all this grey area stuff. It makes it really interesting.
As well, because obviously we're such a close relation to apes as well, and there's a bit where Caesar literally does say, it's funny because I think we're actually closer than we'd like to believe we are. And that's possibly why they're such good characters. You can relate to them still. They're not weird alien things. They're very, very human in what they do. And the fact that they are added intelligence and they do speak in a limited capacity. I've got to say, talking apes could have been really fucking silly. But they handle it very well here by keeping it to a minimum and letting them use sign language to communicate more kind of complex, speaking and complex plot-driving speeches and conversations. I thought it was
when they
subtly
talk,
done.
it's like it's ramped up. It's something important.
Yeah, well, that's it.
They're making a statement. Maurice only has one line in this film. It's badass.
He is good. Maurice is awesome. He should get his own spin-off.
I'd fucking watch it. Fun fact, the actor that played the orangutan in the original film was called Maurice someone. Maurice someone, sorry.
Is that why he was just named?
Well, I just found this out 40 minutes ago, so I haven't looked it up yet, but there's a link there that I've found.
But yeah, this movie is it was great. What I liked about it though is it feels like it's kind of traditional adult aimed sci-fi. It doesn't pander to kids. It doesn't pander to lowest common denominator. It has a set story in a world that it respects the world's rules and law, and it just runs with the story through it in a very kind of adult way.
Yeah, and you know what? It kept me guessing.
Yeah, you know what? One thing I really liked about this movie is the trailers throw you off. Usually trailers will spoil loads of shit for you.
Yeah.
This did not. It threw a lot of red herrings, mixed things up. You don't really know what's coming, even if you've seen every trailer that's come out.
Not at all. And for once, right, Gary Oldman is not the psychopath that is promised in the trailer.
But let's face it, he also is only in it about 3 seconds.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, like, obviously they needed big actors to get, like, to put on the poster, and Gary Oldman is awesome. And, you know what, I liked him, because you're right, he isn't a bad guy for a fucking change.
Yeah.
He's actually a fairly level-headed, ordinary guy. But he's not in it very much at all. It almost feels like the same thing that they did with Bryan Cranston in Godzilla.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I don't think it's quite as bad here because at least he does have like a long-standing impact on the story. Like he's in it, he's not in it a lot, but at least he's in it consistently throughout. Whereas Bryan Cranston was literally
working on stuff in the background, and then he'll crop up in a scene, and then you won't see him until like the end of the film. Then he'll be doing something else.
Yeah. I gotta say, the guy who plays the lead, Jason Clarke, I've not seen him in much else. But I wasn't particularly, I didn't particularly love him or hate him, but I think he was kind of upstaged by the Apes.
Yeah, I think he was solid. And I'm wondering if it was a conscious decision not to like have a huge name actor in the lead.
Yeah, maybe it was. He did a good job when he was in it, but when you put him against the Apes, his character felt a bit flat. Like most of the human characters in this day, a lot of the human characters felt like props.
Yeah.
Almost.
It was like there's one of the humans in their camp that's like he is an arsehole and he hates apes, and it's just like he's a cardboard cutout of a cunt.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I thought this film did a bit weak, is that it seems to rely on, like, the plot's very trope driven. Like, as much as like they kept me guessing when things finally did happen, I was like, well, I've kind of seen that type of thing before, and it was more the quality of what was going on that was keeping this going than the originality of it.
Yeah, possibly.
I don't mean that as a major criticism, but like this very much follows a very kind of archetypal story. It's done very well, and the apes make it very unique and very different. But it's still kind of something you could find elsewhere in broad strokes. You say you've got the human character who's an arsehole. He's the one that he pushes the kind of the friendship and the relationship between humans and apes to the breaking point, and he's just that guy. And then you've got like betrayals and all the rest of it. I felt it was a bit tropey, but other than that, I thought it was fucking great. This film, I really, really loved it. It was very well paced. At no point did it get bogged down or slow down or boring. It was always constantly moving at a steady pace. There was a real sense of drama that you really get.
You really do.
In sci-fi movies, especially with CGI apes.
Not as much happened in this as Transformers, but more happened in this than Transformers.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. There's nowhere near the confusion that there is in Transformers, but there's actually a plot.
It's really deep as well. It makes you think, and it's just making me excited for what is presumably going to be a conclusion.
Well, apparently there's a room. There possibly is going to be 4 movies.
Right.
And hell, I'll
if they keep this quality, I'd see more. Like,
well,
we'd already seen a dip for Transformers by this point.
Yeah. I mean, the good news is director Matt Reeves, who kind of rose to fame by directing Cloverfield.
Yeah.
He did this, which was great, but he's also on board for the next one as well. All
right. I haven't. The last thing I read was that the director of the original one was looking to come back, but that was from a few weeks ago now.
No, he's Matt Reeves is on board, and Matt Reeves hasn't actually directed a film since 2010, which was Let Me In, the American remake of Let the Right One In. And when you think about it, he must have been working on this for a long time.
Well, yeah, the director of Rise was working on it for a bit. So he was working on it for about a year, and then dropped out because he didn't think he'd be able to finish it with the quality that he wanted. So then they brought Matt Reeves in. So I bet Matt Reeves has been working on it from at least 2012, probably earlier.
Yeah, it's been a long time, but it's great. He did a really good job. He did a really good job. He's got a good eye for stuff. Like, I love Cloverfield. Hell, like Let Me In gets a bit of a bad press because it's not as good as Let the Right One In, but I still think it's a solid version of that story. I really like that movie still. I think he did a great job here, but I'm just looking at it.
I think he's really good at managing darkness, and there's a lot of this film set at night.
Yeah, there is actually.
And I mean, I don't know enough about the production of this film. Give some credit to the cinematographer, I'm sure. But the night scenes and the battles and the sort of atmosphere that they create at night, especially in the forest and then in the ruined city, was really, really cool.
Yeah, there's some really good bits in this movie, just from a visual standpoint. That's what I like about this. It not only is it a great kind of it's got the great dramatic side to it, but it has still got the kind of big, flashier stuff as well towards the climax to give you a satisfying payoff. It's really good. I mean, even the opening of this movie, where it's basically the apes hunting, that was badass.
Yeah, that was badass. Go back and watch the original. The opening scene is humans hunting apes to put them in cages.
Oh, really?
It looks very, very similar. It's awesome.
That's quite a nice little parallel.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just looking down the cast list here. I mean, you got Andy Serkis, Gary Oldman, Kerry Russell makes an appearance.
Yes, I forgot to mention her. She's largely forgettable in this, but I love Kerry Russell whenever she crops up in anything.
I know you really like Kerry Russell, and the last thing we probably saw her in was Dark Skies.
Yeah.
It's nice to see that she... is this what happens when you get abducted by aliens? You get taken to the planet of the apes?
It's possible.
But I like Kerry Russell as well. She's cool. But you're right, her character is a bit forgettable in this. She's kind of there to be there.
Yeah, it's so there's like the main character guy. He's got a family unit around him.
Yeah, you're completely right there. And that's pretty much the limit of it. But
I mean, she is an ape, but the same goes for Caesar's wife. Like,
who is actually played by Judy Greer.
Which just seems unnecessary.
I know, she's not in it. She didn't even speak.
Yeah.
But I couldn't believe it, Judy Greer. But fucking hell. One thing as well that I thought was a bit silly is that they felt the need to give her, like, long hair. Like a human woman. And I was kind of like...
I didn't really notice, to be honest.
She definitely has long hair, and I was thinking that just looks a bit silly. She's an ape. She didn't have long hair. But yeah, there's quite a few different people, like people here, like the main character Malcolm's son, Alexander, played by Cody Smith McPhee, who's the young boy in The Road with Viggo Mortensen. He's grown up, and he was also in Let Me In. He was the.
That then.
So maybe that's how he got it. But damn, it's been 4 years since Let Me In, but damn, he looks a lot older than he did.
Well, yeah, he really does.
Well, he will be older, but goddamn, I did not recognise him at all. But he also did. He was also the main character in Paranorman. He was Paranorman.
Oh right.
Have you seen Paranorman?
No.
Oh man, you got to watch it. It's really good. It's awesome.
I don't have time to sit around watching animated films like The Jungle Book, like you clearly do.
Oh god, yeah, I got to see that again. You don't have time. You have nothing but time. you have time to go and pay for fucking Transformers. You would have been better off just buying fucking Paranorman.
Well, yeah, you're right. The reason being that I paid to watch Transformers is we were out in town and we couldn't. We all decided to go home, and then we walked past the cinema. And we're like, well, why not?
And now you know why not.
Yeah, now I know exactly why not.
But yeah, I don't really know what more I can say about this film. I really liked it. I thought it was an incredibly strong film. I enjoyed the hell out of it. Thought the special effects were great. And again, come back to how impressive the apes were. There was a bit where one of the apes is he's talking about like a sad event that's just happened, and just the kind of emotion that comes through. He's like breaking down, like sobbing as he's talking. And I just thought, fucking hell, this is like, it's slightly creepy how good it is.
Yeah,
I wouldn't even say it's Uncanny Valley because they're not human, they're apes, but it's just like, goddamn, this is like intelligent apes are like so close to us. It's fucking odd. And it was kind of like it was just impressive. I love this movie. I thought Andy Serkis was class as Caesar as well. I thought he was really, really good. So yeah,
do you think he's going to get any sort of recognition for this role? Because it's one of the. I mean, if I look at my list of best acting performances, he would make it onto that list if I excluded all of the Oscar winners that have already been. So, like, I'm still on my year's releases, I'm still including like Leonardo DiCaprio and Michael Fassbender, people like that.
I think he should be. I think he should receive at least nominations.
Yeah, I'm not sure he'd win anything, but I think that was such a strong performance, CG or not CG, well, motion capture, that I don't know how you can't give him one because it was brilliant. He carried a whole film and you didn't even see his face.
Yeah, and I think there needs to be some recognition. Like, I was actually, maybe I was thinking we could talk about this on a podcast at one time. But should these like motion capture performances be lumped in with more traditional ones, or should they have their own category? But at the same time, how many come out a year that are actually notable?
Yeah, exactly.
Like one, if you're lucky. So obviously, there's going to be two because there's going to be Caesar and then Rocket Raccoon this year.
Of course, and Groot.
And Groot, of course. But I don't know, it's a hard one. I thought it was a great performance, and I certainly think it should receive nominations. Again, like you said, I don't know if it necessarily should win, but it certainly should be considered. It was really good.
I'm glad you agree with me on that then.
Yeah.
Because I've been talking to some other people and they say that, well, their opinion is that yes, he should be, but then they don't see the Academy, for example, doing that, and he'll just get like a Lifetime Achievement Award at some point.
I think that's exactly how it will go, to be honest.
Yeah.
Andy Serkis does so much for this type of technology. I mean, let's face it, if there's been like apart from Avatar, which let's face it wasn't very character driven, it was more special effects driven.
Yeah.
He's pretty much been every other major CGI character going.
He does it well.
He does. He has an understanding of the craft. And it's funny to think this all spawned from him playing Gollum.
I know, yeah. And what, he hadn't done it before?
Nobody really done it before.
Yeah.
Not to the extent. I mean, Jar Jar Binks doesn't really count.
No.
As much as I'd love him to.
Lifetime Achievement Award for services to the craft.
What, actually Jar Jar Binks?
Yeah.
Not even the actor. So again, I think I pretty much said all I had to say. Really, I thought this movie was great. It was kind of classic adult sci-fi. It was not only a worthy successor to its strong reboot. It was actually better than it, in my opinion. I think it moved into more interesting territory, gave the apes more time to shine, and was just a very, very solid movie that at the same time, despite being part of a planned and ongoing franchise, I felt this was very much a self-contained story as well, which is rare in most things that just sequel bait all the time.
Yeah, I think so as well. I mean, it's left open-ended, but the story is resolved. Yeah,
and I thought there were some really nice touches. I don't know if I really want to go into spoilers, but I'll tell you them after we've finished.
Yeah.
So there's some really subtle kind of almost artistic type touches that I really liked and I thought were quite good, and like they're almost symbolic without words, and just like kind of what it shows you on screen. I thought that was pretty cool. But what would you give this as far as the rating goes?
I'd probably give this 5 stars.
Honestly, I think that's fair. I thought, you know what, I'm looking forward to this movie. I never thought it would be one of my favorite movies of the summer.
Yeah, me either.
Pretty much because I thought Dinobots were going to save the day, but they really didn't. And again, I like Rise of Planet of the Apes, but I didn't love it. But this one I really do love. I thought it was great, and I can't wait to see what they do in the inevitable fucking birth of the Planet of the Rise of the Apes.
Yeah. This has now become one of the franchises that genuinely excites me now.
Yeah.
Whenever I hear news.
Yeah, and I think it's largely due to this film building on the success of the first one.
I thought the first one was great, but, whatever. They announced the sequel, they said they were working on it, new stories would come out. I didn't even click on them to read them, I didn't care.
It almost feels like it missed its opportunity. Almost, it took so long to come out. The excitement for it waned. But instead of trying to ride the hype wave, they said, no, you know what, fuck it. We're gonna hang back and do what we want to do and make it good and take our time on it. And it's paid off. I think this is a film that will be remembered positively a lot longer than something that just is rushed out to ride on the hype.
Yeah, it's definitely got a long term. I've been thinking about this film maybe every day since I've seen it.
Yeah, and I think that's always a good sign. It's a sign of a good movie, something that sticks with you, sticks in your head, and makes you think about it for a long time, for the right reasons.
Well, it's made me, all I want to do is, absorb more of the franchise. So I've watched the Rise of the Planet of the Apes last week. I watched the original tonight. And I don't have the other ones, and they're not on Netflix, so I just went and read the plot lines from Wikipedia for every other film in between.
I'm sure there's one where 2 of the apes travel back in time to when humans are still alive.
Yeah, there is, yeah.
I think I've seen parts of that, and it was not very good.
That's apparently the critically acclaimed one.
Really?
Apart from the original, yeah. That was the best one out of all 4 sequels.
Oh, well.
But yeah.
Maybe I'm mistaken then, but I don't think so.
No. But yeah, it's. I think it's going to stick with me, and this is going to be a release day purchase for me when it's on Blu-ray.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a huge amount else on at the cinema anymore. I mean, you got How to Train Your Dragon come out, which I still need to get around seeing, but
yeah,
I'd probably go and see this again.
Yeah, I've already said to David, my friend, if if there's not a plan to go and see anything at the weekend, I'm just going to go see this again, maybe on my own, probably.
Yeah, it's a great movie. I enjoyed it. One of the better movies I've seen in a long while. But then again, the last 2 films I've seen are Mrs. Brown's Boys, the movie, and Transformers: Age of Extinction. So maybe I'm just happy that I've actually seen something that wasn't complete shit.
Yeah, maybe. I think 5 stars is definitely a worthy rating for this.
Yeah.
SeaWorld will be happy since... No, I think it was Andy Serkis that asked us to go, and the reason we got to see it so far in advance is so that we could go and tell all of our friends how good it was.
Yeah.
And I'm doing that now. It was great.
It was great. And our friend Chris sent me sometimes on podcasts with us. He saw it at the weekend. He fucking loved it. You know when Chris likes something a lot, he goes on like these ridiculous rants about how good they are. This was one of them types of movies. He fucking loved this movie so much. His Facebook statuses all weekend were just like apes getting like him shouting apes. Like mimicking Caesar and doing shit like that, and he loved it as well. So everyone who's seen it seems to be kind of giving it universal endorsement. And I got to say, when we went to the screening, 2 things. One thing not so good, one thing really good. Like one thing that pissed me off, right, is that we had to book these seats in advance for this preview.
Yeah.
And you don't know what it's going to be, so fuck it. If you book it, I think you've got to take it on the chin and say, right, I'm going to watch whatever it is. I don't care. It's free. I don't care. First of all, when I booked my ticket, I booked it quite late, but there was fucking barely any seats left in the cinema at all. There was maybe like 5 seats left, and I was quite happy I was on my own because I could sit reasonably comfortably. When I got there, and after waiting half an hour for people to get the free Cokes, the cinema was still had patches of empty seats. I was the only person sitting in about 5 seats squared around me.
That's crazy.
That annoyed the shit out of me because people who genuinely wanted to go might not be able to go now. The worst thing was, a lot of people fucking waited until the movie started, they found out what it was, and then walked out as they decided they didn't want to see it.
Yeah, that is really annoying.
That's even worse than not turning up. And the worst thing is, you've got a Cineworld Unlimited card to get to these things. You can just walk into anything else you want for free.
Yeah.
So there's no comeback. They never got punished.
To say, neither of those things happened on my screening.
Oh, it was annoying.
Not a single person left, and I reckon maybe there was like 15 to 20 seats in the whole cinema that weren't booked when I booked my tickets, because I booked quite late as well.
Yeah.
And there was probably a similar number that were empty, so...
I mean, don't get me wrong, the majority of people sat there, and the second point I was going to say is that as I was walking out, pretty much everybody was talking about talking very, very positively about this film. Like, there was one a man and a woman in front of me, and like it was almost like they just expected it to be stupid because it was about talking monkeys, and they were like, "Jesus, that was actually pretty fucking good." I was like, "Yeah, you're damn right it was."
There was like loads of people that were saying how they wouldn't have like saying, I've never come and see this film, and that was brilliant. And it's, so I feel that sci-fi in general gets that stick a lot, but a lot of times it's like valid.
It is. I mean, one thing that irritates me is that like silly kind of teenage boy orientated sci-fi. Like, I must admit, like Guardians of the Galaxy is going to be like that kind of adventure, pew pew lasers type of sci-fi. Is lapped up by the public, whether it's good or bad. Yet, like proper sci-fi is often sneered at by the general public.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
But
so it was nice to see a lot of people embracing this one, and I've heard a lot of like sci-fi neutral people saying how they've heard such good things about it, and they're getting quite interested in it, and I'm hoping it starts off like a new trend in things.
Yeah, hopefully it will. Maybe. I mean, thing is though, you do get the odd sci-fi movie that is good. I mean, we had Looper not long ago.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like saying that, I'm kind of struggling to think of the last one. Maybe District
9. I'm thinking Sunshine by Danny Boyle.
Yeah, and even that received.
That was a while ago.
Yeah, that was a while ago, and that received mixed opinions now because of the final act of that movie changing things up quite significantly. But you do get the odd one, but not nearly enough, really. Maybe one or two good ones a year.
Mm.
But yeah, I maybe bring this to a close because I think we're going a bit on a fucking tangent now. But 5 stars for Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. It is Dawn, isn't it?
It is Dawn, yeah.
It's just fucking the new Planet of the Apes movie to me.
So just come back to Screen Hug UK in 6 years for rebirth of the Dawn of the Planet of the Apes Rise.
There must be another way. Caesar!